Think big. Think positive. Never show any sign of weakness. Always go for the throat. Buy low, sell high. Fear, that's the other guy's problem. Nothing you have ever experienced can prepare you for the unbridled carnage you're about to witness. Super Bowl, the World Series, they don't know what pressure is. In this building, it's either kill or be killed. You make no friends in the pits and you take no prisoners. 1 minute, you're up $500,000 in soybeans, and the next, boom, your kids don't go to college and they've repossessed your Bentley. Are you with me?
Yeah, but we gotta kill him, motherfucker! We gotta kill him!
It's Two Dads, One Movie. It's the podcast where two middle-aged dads sit around and shoot the shit about the movies of the 80s and 90s. Here are your hosts, Steve Paulo and Nick Brianna. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Dads, One Movie. I'm Steve.
And I'm Nick.
And today we are moving away from November and Cagevember, and as much fun as that was, it's now December. If you're listening on the day this episode comes out, it is the first Wednesday in December.
That's right.
And what does that mean? That means we're getting close to Christmas, one of the best holidays of the year, in my opinion. And for the next month, every single week, we're going to open up a window on the Dadvent calendar. Okay, now that everybody's done roariously applauding and laughing out there in podcast world.
Yeah, and they probably paused it or like knocked their radio over.
Oh my gosh.
Broke it. So
wild
they had
stuff.
some time to crack up.
Pick your AirPods back up, put them back in your ear because you're so crazed and wild by this name. Okay, so we are talking about the 1983 classic Trading Places, starring Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy, the first of our 5 Dadvent calendar movies. And Nick, you picked Trading Places for us, so talk to me. Why'd you pick it? What's your story with it?
Yeah, well, I think, part of it is just the constant search for the non-official Christmas movie, right? So you want to have, for years, we know the one that everyone says is a Christmas movie, Die Hard. But it's fun to just have something like that's not the Grinch to watch all the time, right?
Yep.
Shout out to the Grinch. I love the Grinch.
Which version? How many versions of the Grinch have there been over the years?
You know what? I'm going to be non-specific about that and say that they're all equal, but I think you and I know exactly which one is good.
Yeah, the Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, exactly.
The newest one with the screaming goat. That's my favorite, but yeah.
But yeah, so it's one that has kind of picked up steam in the last few years when we're always looking for stuff to watch around Christmas time. But I've, been watching this since I was a teen.
Yeah.
It is very quotable. It's loaded with a lot of our favorite people.
Yep.
Very early Eddie Murphy just, blowing everybody off the screen, and he's like sharing the screen with these other amazing performers. Just like super fun. It's a very satisfying result. And it pokes fun at the right people, and it's funny. Like, it's still very funny. And how about you? You're familiar with this one.
Yes.
I think this is not your first journey through the Trading Places.
Definitely not my first visit to 1980s Philadelphia for sure. This is like really classic satire. We've talked about satire before just as a form, as an art form, whatever. And this is a great piece of satire. It punches up, which is always the best comedy punches up.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. The cast is sort of like ridiculous before you add fresh off of 48 Hours Eddie Murphy, right? If this was just Dan Aykroyd and Jamie Lee Curtis and Denholm Elliott and, Ralph Bellamy and Don Amici and like that, and then there was just some other, it would still be a great movie.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy makes it a real classic, right?
Right.
Like really. And so, I probably first saw this, sometime in high school. Actually, no, that's not even true. I'll bet you this is one of those ones I saw when I was like 10 or 11 on TBS edited, right? So that the swear words were all out. And then, and the Jamie Lee Curtis scenes that we grow to love, they're not there, but dude, still a great movie.
Same for me, because I do remember at some point where I saw this movie unedited, and it was like the Jamie Lee, I was like, are you kidding me?
Like all this time?
Like also this, in addition to this movie I already liked.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think you're right. This was a classic on cable.
Absolutely, 100%. So definitely saw that, and the cast is great. This is actually the third appearance, I believe, on the podcast of one Mr. Denholm Elliott. So super excited to see him.
Shout out to Denholm Elliott if you're listening.
Yeah. Is he still alive? I don't think he probably isn't.
You can listen from Beyond the Grave at some point.
We are available on Heaven's Cast.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Denholm, listen there. Because he was in Toy Soldiers, he was in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and now Trading Places. And speaking of things like the cast of the movie, let's get into the facts.
Yeah, let's hear some facts about it.
Trading Places came out on June 7th, 1983, which we were both surprised to learn that it did not come out around Christmas or New Year's.
Right.
Which is obviously the focal point temporally of the story, but that's okay. It is rated R with a running time of 116 minutes. It's directed by John Landis, written by Timothy Harris and Herschel Weingrod, starring, among many others, Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy, and Jamie Lee Curtis. The scores: Rotten Tomatoes 87% fresh. That is a solidly fresh critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. IMDb a 7.5, which is nice, good solid score. Siskel and Ebert, 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert. So there you go. Awards: it was nominated for an Oscar for Best Music for the score. Did not win. Denholm Elliott and Jamie Lee Curtis both won supporting acting awards at the BAFTA Awards, which is the British Academy of Film and Television Arts. So basically like England's version of the Academy Awards.
So would they be selecting from the same pool generally? Okay.
It's just it's like movies that are released, but they'll have different categories for like foreign, and they'll treat things a little differently. And I do think that they are a little more, British focused. But those were the winners for supporting actor and supporting actress in 1984 with Denholm Elliott and JLC. And then Eddie Murphy also won an award for this movie. He won an NAACP Image Award for Best Lead Actor.
He barely beat out Dan Aykroyd.
I guess so. We'll get into that. Oh boy, are we going to get into that? Budget, $15 million budget, and the take at the box office, $90.4 million for 6 times what it cost. A bona fide smash hit, which really surprises no one. Obviously, didn't cost a ton to make, even with the cast that we have here. Not exactly a lot of special effects, et cetera. Some good makeup and some really bad makeup. So we'll, but yeah,
some good settings, but things that already existed.
Right.
They just needed to get good establishing shots of these grand places that they were in.
Absolutely.
So
let's dive in, man.
All right. Let's dive in. Yes. So I like that this movie gets right into it. And I was actually really happy to see it was nominated for Best Music because I love the music throughout this. I am a big classical music dummy, right? Yeah. So I don't know the names of any of it. So I'll hear something and be like, is that like the score of this? Or is this some like classic standard that I should know if I'd ever picked up a violin like my parents wanted me to? So like, the way that this starts off, the only way I can describe it as a non-classical person is like, this is like rich people music. This is kind of the music that would be playing in fancy places or whatever, but it's not showing anything fancy at the beginning. It's starting with like very kind of working class images of Philadelphia. Things are run down. One shot that I just absolutely love, because I was trying to notice things more this time, is it's showing these various statues that are kind of like historical figure statues, and they're all kind of like run down looking, covered in bird shit. And then the last statue it shows is a pristine Rocky statue. Oh, that's right. So this is probably filmed in 82, 83, right?
Yeah.
The Rocky statue couldn't have been more than a few years old. And even nowadays people are like, this is stupid that this is like the highlight of our city is this thing from a movie, right?
Well, they do have that bell with the crack in it, to be fair. They've got that too. So
Rocky punched the bell. But it's very funny that I'm sure at the time people were even more like, oh, this historical, like once capital of America, and our biggest tourist draw is this fucking Sylvester Stallone character. So I thought it was really funny for them to slide that in there.
I completely agree. This is one of my favorite like opening kind of montages in cinema, to be honest with you. Like I love it because I'm a bit of a classical music nerd. I'll let you know that is actually The Marriage of Figaro by Mozart. I'm not sure.
Knew it.
I did
write Ask Steve in my notes.
I don't know which symphony orchestra was performing, but that is The Marriage of Figaro, which is, sort of it's about from an operetta about, like rich people and the way that their lives work. And so the idea of juxtaposing that with these images of working class Philadelphia is really great choice, both by John Landis and by the music supervisor on the film. Super awesome. I also wanted to say, like, on the question of whether this was a Christmas movie, because I was kind of like, is this a Christmas, getting into it. There's a Christmas decoration in the first minute in that intro. So it's like, clearly we are establishing that it is Christmas time at the very least. And then I also was kind of like noticing, because like you, I've seen this movie a ton of times. And so watching through this time, I really wanted to like try to be more, like vigilant and like look at things and really like understand stuff and kind of maybe like dig in just even mentally as I'm watching it more than usual. And one of the things I realized is like, this is a very similar opening to the film, to The Secret of My Success. Except instead of butt rock, it's Mozart.
Right. Which was the butt rock of his day.
So I think so. That's actually pretty accurate. It was very popular music at the time. So, So we've got this whole working class Philadelphia montage that happens, but it ends with us at the doorstep of the home of one Louis Winthorpe and his sort of butler, valet, whatever, Coleman, and Coleman is making breakfast and getting it all ready. And there's a lot of close-up shots of like getting the literal silver platter he's being served on, like set up. And then an opening that I really feel like John Landis deliberately references later in Coming to America is providing the breakfast in bed to the sleeping prince. Right. And very much like Eddie Murphy is only woken up in Coming to America by a string quartet. So it's a little more advanced, but like the vibe is the same.
He definitely elevates it in Coming to America. Episode 12 for anyone that wants to check that out. Great episode of Two Dads, One Movie.
Look at you being a curator of our stuff.
Look at me being prepared, having notes and stuff. And one scene where Coleman, he's like kind of preparing the newspaper for him to read, and then it cuts to a homeless man who's like, sleeping on the street, covered in newspapers. When Winthorpe walks out to the vehicle, because Winthorpe, he's not like a kid, but he's probably 30. He's supposed to be, right? Yeah. And when he walks out to his car, he just stands there with his briefcase, like so indignantly, impatiently waiting for Coleman to open the door for him. It's just like these little touches that they had to show what a dipshit this guy is are great.
He can't shave himself. He can't pick out his own suit to wear of a bunch of like very similar looking suits. He can't open his own car door. Like, I know obviously the character believes that this is because he deserves to have these things done for him. But like as a regular human being, not of abject wealth, I look at that and going, damn, dude, you can't shave? Yeah. Like I shave my head in the shower while I'm doing 3 other things. Like you can't just like run a razor over your face. Like how incompetent are you?
You actually edit the podcast while you're shaving
in the shower. In the shower with the laptop. It's really, really difficult.
We're spending a fortune on equipment, folks.
It's really
we
bad.
Need some waterproof
4
stuff.
MacBook Airs in the last 6 months. It's really crazy. Anyway, but yeah, so he stands there by the car door until Coleman comes down and opens it for him. And I love there is like Denholm Elliott is so good in this movie. There's this little moment he first steps out where he kind of takes a deep breath of fresh air and like gets his gloves on and he looks like happy for a moment.
Yes.
And then he like looks down and doesn't really change his visage too much, but there is a bit of a downtroddenness to like, that's right, I have to help this guy. So it's like he can still appreciate like a brisk winter morn, but he's got to help this fucking asshole.
and the best part of his day is before this asshole's awake.
And after he goes to work.
Right. And then so we're taken to the Duke's mansion, who we learn are Randolph and Mortimer Duke. And their kind of morning routine is even crazier.
Yes.
They come down this big grand double staircase and they're handed their coats and they walk out front and they have a whole staff of people. Good morning, Mr. Duke. Good morning. And they're just acting, annoyed that they have to be said good morning to because they don't say shit back to them.
No, it's an interesting juxtaposition. Right before we see the Dukes, Randolph and Mortimer, we actually see Winthorpe arrive at work.
Correct.
And so there's an interesting thing, if you notice. So he will respond to the people saying, good morning, Mr. Winthorpe. Good morning, Mr. Winthorpe. But he doesn't look at anybody. So he is looking down the hall. He's walking towards the elevator. But as people walk by, go, good morning, Mr. Winthorpe. He goes, good morning. Mm-hmm. Yes, good morning. Good morning. I mean, he doesn't sound too irritated, but he's obviously also not interacting. And he's not looking at anyone.
Yeah.
And then when you see the Dukes, they not only don't look at their own household staff as they're saying, good morning, Mr. Duke, whatever, they don't respond, right? So we've moved from rich, where Winthorpe exists, to wealthy, where the Dukes exist.
Yes.
And there is even more just pure derision for the working class at the Duke's level as there is from Winthorpe, right? And it's like we're setting the scene of like, these are not only rich and wealthy people, these are rich and wealthy assholes, as if there could be any other kind. When you get this wealthy, is there any other kind?
And they live in like a different world too,
oh my God,
because in the Winthorpe scenes, it was being cut between like working class Philadelphia, his house, because his residence still exists kind of. Among
Philadelphia
the people.
City or whatever.
And then the Dukes, it wasn't cutting back and forth because they're like in their own universe.
They look like they live on a ranch somewhere outside of town. It's this enormous like country estate,
So the Dukes, Randolph and Mortimer Duke, and then Winthorpe works for them and they're commodities brokers. That's their money. They're taking commissions on commodities trades. And that's what they do. They advise people on what to invest in and stuff. There's a scene. So I think they're first not arriving at the office. They're at the Heritage Club. Is this what this place is called?
So they're in the car first. And because what happened is Winthorpe, when he's getting shaved, he like looks at the newspaper. He goes, I think something interesting is going to happen in Pork Bellies this morning, whatever. And so then when the Dukes are on their way to the Heritage Club, which of course it says founded on the liberty and justice for all and then members only, which is a great little bit.
Really good.
On their way to the Heritage Club, the Dukes are looking at like a stock ticker, a commodities ticker of Pork Bellies, among other things, and watching it move and like basically saying, Mortimer says, played by Don Amici, he says like, oh, we should sell now. And Randolph, played by Ralph Bellamy, is like, no. Like Winthorpe said it would get to like 75, whatever the number was. And they're like arguing. And then finally, Ralph is like, Ralph Bellamy, I'm going to call him Ralph the whole time, but whatever. Randolph is like, let's wait. So Randolph and Mortimer in the car, they sell when Winthorpe said they could sell. And Randolph even calculates, oh, he saved us this much money. They're super happy with him, right? My question was, why is the market closing? It's the morning when they show up at the Heritage Club. The guy, working the door opens and says, "Good morning, Mr. Duke." It's
yeah.
like, what market closes that early? But I don't know that much about commodities markets, so maybe that's a normal thing. But it seemed odd to me.
I don't either. I remember. I don't know if you did too, but I think freshman year of high school economics.
Yeah.
They showed us this movie.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I remember watching this in school too. So extra points to it for being one of those that qualified to be watched in school. I think we missed the JLC.
I was going to say, I think with a few
and the various others. I mean,
a few very important scenes and words throughout the movie cut out, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of find out that like Winthorpe is making them a bunch of money on these trades and stuff. They get to the Heritage Club, and they're both like sitting in the chair and being delivered like the most depressing looking like milk.
Yes.
I'm sure it has some kind of capsule dissolved in it or some kind of bullshit, but by this butler who's just like, I can't stand these guys, and they hand him $5 for his Christmas bonus
from both of them.
Yeah, from both of them, and then he has a very funny line. He's like, "Oh, great. Maybe I'll go to the movies by myself."
Thank you,
I
Mr.
like that
Baltimore.
guy.
Yes, he's great.
He's
now, something that I, again, didn't notice necessarily the first 20 times I saw this movie, but definitely noticed this time. So I was looking for this kind of thing. Did you notice that every single person that works at the Heritage Club, without fail and without exception, is black?
I didn't keep
had
track,
never noticed that before,
but
and this time I looked
started
closely.
noticing later in the movie. Okay, well that's good to confirm that. Yeah, because these certain intentional choices that throughout this movie are
it is supposed to be clear to us that not only because of their sort of interest in eugenics, which is what this whole thing is kind of based off of, the Dukes are abject, just total and to the core racists, and their whole world is built around white supremacy and racism. And so to have this club that only members who clearly by at least what we're able to see are 100% white men work, going somewhere where only black men work as servants, it's like very deliberate choice by Landis and the other filmmakers. And so, but it was interesting because it was something I hadn't noticed before, and it kind of jumped out on out of the screen at me this time. It's like, oh my God, look at that. It's, it looks like an old plantation house. Like, obviously, I'm assuming these guys are getting paid, but probably minimum wage,
sure.
right? Like
I mean, they're not
minimum.
treated.
No,
it's not
exactly.
a good job.
Absolutely
to have
not.
or whatever.
Yep.
But at the beginning we see the homelessness. We see the alternative to not taking the shittiest job available to you. Yeah. So John Landis was definitely showing some, and he has some racism to make up for later. So he's trying to build some goodwill up.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Winthorpe walks up to the Dukes. Basically, he's got a briefcase full of the payroll checks. I don't know why your CFO is like getting signatures on the payroll checks, but then I was thinking, I've worked with people who are kind of like the Dukes who might need their fingers and everything. And they might be like, nobody spends a penny without me signing it. Yeah. I definitely see that, not setting a threshold, but modern day, no, they're not looking at those payroll checks.
Well, nobody even gets paychecks anymore, right? I mean, it's direct deposit and whatever, all that. But these are very big checks. I don't know if it's the stubs on them, but for whatever, they look like half a sheet of paper. Like they're enormous for some reason. I'm not sure why, but they have to sign it. And I love Mortimer's got a line about, we seem to be paying some of our employees an awful lot of money. And Winthorpe's like, no getting around that minimum wage, Mortimer.
Yeah.
It's like who even the secretaries working at a commodities broker are making minimum wage.
Right.
Maybe the janitors.
Right.
I can see that. But like, come on, Winthorpe's not making minimum wage. Like, come on, like it's ridiculous.
And we'll probably bring it up again, but Aykroyd's voice in this is just, it seems so natural that it's just like, oh, this is a guy with a funny voice. Like, the character he is doing is so incredibly good.
It's so perfect, and it's so he's a Canadian man who grew up not rich, but the way he takes on the affect of a clearly Connecticut born and educated, Harvard, whatever, kind of all the upper crustiness you could possibly be, and takes that voice on and does just a perfect job without it being overacting or over the top. It's not like in a movie like Clueless, the whole Valley Girl thing is meant to be over the top. It's like, it's part of the character and part of the, this needed to be realistic. Like this needed to be believable. unbelievable.
Yeah.
And he nails it, absolutely nails it. And it's great too, because we get to see the transition of it throughout the movie. And by the end of the movie, he doesn't have the same affectations to his voice that he does early on. And I think, but yeah, at this point it is full, like very hoity toity, like whatever. And it's perfection.
It's really incredible. You can tell that Aykroyd had guys in his real life like that,
right?
That he couldn't fucking stand. Like that only comes from a place of like, all right, I'm a very skilled impressionist, but also I know these people, and these are the mannerisms that are important to like capture who that is.
Well-earned disdain.
Yeah, really good. So one of the checks that he questions is like, there's a $50,000 check to a guy named Clarence Beeks. I've never heard of a guy named Clarence Beeks, and they kind of, well, don't worry about that. We'll take care of that.
Yeah, they hand wave it away.
So yeah, and now Randolph and Mortimer are continuing this discussion they were having about, this article in Science Weekly or whatever the fuck he was reading. And it was about, environment versus genetics and stuff. And they're having the nature versus nurture debate. They don't say nature versus nurture.
I noticed that.
That would have made it cleaner, but I think that's how like poor people would talk about it.
Okay. That makes sense. No, that tracks. That tracks. Very true. So they're having this conversation, but so they say like, someone like, we're very lucky. I think it's Randolph says we're very lucky to have Winthorpe running our brokerage or whatever, running our firm. And Mortimer's like, it's ridiculous. He went to Exeter. He went to Harvard. Like it's all, it's like, I think he says it's like in racehorses. It's in the blood, whole thing. And they're arguing about whether it's like, and he says, no, you could put, Winthorpe anywhere. Mortimer says you could put Winthorpe anywhere and he'd succeed. And this is when Randolph comes up with the idea of like, what if he lost, not just his job, but his fiance and his home, all of his friends, and he was, humiliated and thrown in jail. Like, and he says, I think Winthorpe would take to crime like a duck to water, fish to water, whatever he says. And so they agree. I think we might be skipping ahead a little bit, but like they agree to that. But before all that happens, we are introduced to Billy Ray Valentine outside of the Heritage Club. We get a quick Billy Ray Valentine because we see. So this is Eddie Murphy's character. He is pretending to be a legless Vietnam veteran, legless and blind, I think, Vietnam veteran. Yeah. And he asks for money. It was when the Dukes first show up. Actually, we see him and he asks Mortimer for money. And I have no money for you, whatever. And he rolls off into the park. And there's a couple of cops kind of like watching him arrive. He hasn't seen them yet. He makes a comment to a lady who walks by, makes it clear he can see. So the cops roll up to him and it's kind of like, they stop his little cart and they go, hey, we've been hearing a lot, about con men pretending to be crippled and blind or whatever. And they lift him up off the cart. And of course he has his legs. And so he puts his feet down. And I love before he even references the legs, he's like, I can see. Yes. It's a miracle. I can see, and he goes crazy. Basically he like walks away from the cops and is like, oh, you guys, it's a miracle. I'm okay now, whatever. And that's when he bumps into Winthorpe.
Right. And there's a great chase scene there.
Yes.
Because basically he bumps into Winthorpe. Winthorpe drops the briefcase that had all the payroll checks in it. And Valentine picks it up. He's like, here you go, man. Dropped And Winthorpe is another very funny trait about how terrified he is, right? He just goes, help, and he's like, take my briefcase. And he's like, I'm trying to hand it back to you. But he's just so terrified to even interact with a person of this strata of society.
He says, please don't kill me. I'm getting married. I love that for some reason. So there's a chase. The cops and a couple other cops, everybody kind of coalesces on the Heritage Club, and they're chasing Valentine through, who still has the briefcase for a while because Winthorpe wouldn't take it back from him. So he's running around with. So he does look like he's trying to take the briefcase in that sense. Ends up kind of tossing it aside at one point, throwing it to somebody. Ends up underneath the table, which I love. Winthorpe is then going, there he is. Get him. He's under the table. There he is. Don't let him away. Go get him. And he's like,
there's
as if
30 cops around.
Right. Like as if nobody can tell, or not everybody knows he's under there. Right. So he sneaks out, the classic shot of Eddie Murphy and 7 police, pistols point his face. And, is there a problem, officers? Like, but they basically say like, he says like, I wasn't trying to steal anything. This guy bumped into me. And Aykroyd's like, well, that's ridiculous. I want to press full charges. You tried to steal this, whatever. No, I didn't. This kind of arguing. And that's when Randolph is like, you're from a broken home, I suppose. Yeah, we were broke. So what? But trying to like suss out what kind of environment.
You're the kind of guy we're looking for to compare to
the flip flop. Yeah. And at which one he says, man, I ain't answering this guy's questions. I need a lawyer. Is there a lawyer in the house? And you got to figure 80% of the dudes in there probably have law degrees, right? Like, and they're all just like, nobody will help them out.
That was a great exchange there.
Oh man.
Yeah. So basically they say some racist things about Valentine when he's taken away. They say he's been stealing since he can crawl, basically. Like this is what he was born to do. And they decide we're going to make a bet here.
Yep.
Can we basically turn Winthorpe into Valentine if we give him those surroundings? And vice versa.
Right, exactly. And it's like, there is something interesting about the concept of nature and nurture, of environment versus genetics. Like there are interesting things about that, but not in this way, right? Like it's like way to take like a potentially interesting thought process or thought experiment and turning it into a horrific, eugenic kind of like experiment that's going to ruin two people's lives. Like they couldn't possibly take this even any worse direction, basically.
Yeah.
They're basically Eric and Don Trump Jr. in the future at some point.
And it is funny. It's like, you're sitting on a pile of probably inherited wealth and you're being like, oh, well, was it my hard work that comes? Come on, man.
What is it like being born on third and thinking you get a triple, right? Like, yeah.
But, you got to play with the pores if you're going to entertain yourself. I think that's the lesson here. Lewis is back home.
That's right.
And he's there with Penelope. His girlfriend is very pretty, fiance, and they're enjoying like the most ridiculously fancy dinner ever. Coleman is preparing things for him. Coleman gets a phone call at some point.
Well, yeah. So Coleman is making a dessert basically, and I don't know what it is.
Crepe Suzette.
Is that what it is? Okay, cool. Crepe Suzette. And Penelope is super impressed with the the action that Winthorpe went through today, and she kind of leans over and goes, "I want you, Lewis." Now, and so he's like, Coleman, take the dessert. You can have it. And he just dumps it out.
I love that it cuts that hard cut of like, oh, I'm doing you such a favor by saying you can have my dessert. And then Coleman just being like, look, this is your bullshit. I don't want this crap.
Yeah. And then that's when he gets the phone call. We don't hear the other side of the call, but it clearly from the Dukes. And because he basically says, well, it is your house. I work for you, sir. I'll make the necessary arrangements. So they're setting up what's going to happen. He excuses himself. Penelope and Lewis are in mid undress as Coleman says goodnight, basically. We cut then to basically the holding tank or the holding cell at whatever city jail Valentine was taken to, and he is talking to there's about three guys next to him, and he's saying stuff about how he was fighting whatever, and I didn't cut the guy with no knife, I cut him with these, and he's like showing his hands like I'm a karate man, Bruce Lee, like whatever, all this stuff, beat up all 5, 6, wasn't no cop man, it was cops plural.
Yeah, I love that.
One thing I noticed this time again, hadn't noticed this before, one of the three men, the one standing by the against the cell, Giancarlo Esposito.
That's right.
Gus Fring from Breaking Bad. I was like, holy crap. It's like his like 6th or 7th credit total, obviously long before he was in Do the Right Thing, which was kind of the first thing I remember Giancarlo Esposito from. But yeah, like that's him.
He's that was cool. It was cool spotting him there. And the karate thing, the Eddie Murphy line where he says like, they're like, well, and then the two big guys. So he's bragging to these other guys. Then there's two big guys who are like, hey, you're talking all this shit. Why didn't this happen? Then there's one guy who just goes, yeah. and he's like, well, I'm a karate man and we bruise on the inside. I love that line there. So they've had enough of his shit, right? They're like, they don't want to hear him run his mouth anymore. And they pick him up. He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You trying to mess with me? Me, who's sitting here in cell number 12 on the 5th floor? And he's like screaming, for the security. Good Eddie Murphy stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was just like, okay, this is why this guy's a star.
And luckily for him, he's been bailed out. So the guard, played by the same actor who played Jim Walsh, the dad on 90210, comes over and is basically like, Valentine, you made bail, you're out here. And he goes, I did? Like, he's totally shocked, right? Because he was talking about how the phone in his limo's busted, so he can't get a hold of his bitches because he told everybody he's a pimp, right? But sure enough, he's been let out. He walks out the front steps of the police station, whatever. Makes a funny crack about like, the couple officers are wrestling with a guy that's trying to get inside. Like, may I suggest you use your nightstick, officer? Very
I love
funny.
that. Yeah.
And who rolls up but the Dukes, and they're not, I guess, no surprise, a black man is their driver. So, okay. But that's who rolls up in the car. And they basically tell him like, hey, come on in. We want to talk to you. We've got whiskey. We've got,
the
whatever.
way he shakes the whiskey and says, it's like, that's how I try to lure my cat into the garage for the night.
With treats.
Yeah. But it's really, really funny.
Yeah. So he doesn't want to get in, but he does end up agreeing because they're just like, hey, like we bailed you out. So you should at least come listen to us. One of the things that they say, they tell him that they are that they use, or they're part of a program that, using private funds, tries to help, and I quote, culturally disadvantaged people, which is like one of the most deeply racist things in this movie. That again is racist in the way Blazing Saddles is racist. It is satire. It is making fun of the racists in the movie.
Sure, yeah.
But to do that, it has to show us just how racist these people are. And oh my God, using the words culturally disadvantaged was like, yeah, I don't know how else to put it. That was pretty awful. But yeah, that's where they're at.
You know, it's funny. At some point, talking about like needing to be racist to show racism.
Yeah.
My daughter watched this movie and she was like, if an actor has to say the N-word, can they still be a good person?
Right.
And I was, trying to explain to her, I was like, yeah, I mean, but it's hard for people to say certain things. And like a lot of times you kind of break down, like, especially if you have to be like a really terrible person as a character.
Yeah.
But it was interesting coming from a kid's perspective, how does that even work? You know? But then I guess, your responsibility as a performer to know what you're in and know what the message of the, are you just saying it because they just want something?
Right.
There's reasons for it to be part of the story. Anyway, a little diversion, but I think it's important for, kids to like think about stuff like that. And I was actually like really impressed for her to ask me that.
That's good stuff.
So they basically are offering Buddy Valentine. They're like, cigars, and he grabs like the most cigars, and he's like clutching it to his chest. And they're like, we're going to give you a job, $80,000 a year, which 1982. Holy moly, right?
About $250,000 by the calculation I saw. In today's dollars. Yeah.
And so it's very funny. He like leans forward to the driver, which is, what you have to do. You're like, okay, this is the only other black person. This is the only other like working class person here.
Yeah.
I gotta lean up. It's like, these guys for real?
Yeah.
And the guy just kind of like shakes his head and nods at everything he says. And then before he leans back, he's like, thanks. It was very helpful.
Yeah. Cause he asked him like, well, what's my move, man? And the guy just shrugs.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Like, but he asks him if they're gay. Cause he's thinking, like, are they trying to hit on me or whatever? And the guy's like, no, they're not. He's like, okay, all right. But yeah, so they get him to Winthorpe's house. Not that Valentine knows it's Winthorpe's house, but that's where we end up because Winthorpe is at work.
Right.
And so we get there and he gets like a tub, like a bath or whatever with a jacuzzi. He doesn't know what jacuzzi is called. And Coleman's like, I think you'll like it, son. And sure enough, he's like, hey, this is great. It's bubbles. Yeah. We went on a jacuzzi. We had to fart in the tub when I was growing up. Yeah. And they get him, dressed in the outfit and everything. And they start to try to explain to him. Like,
the tub real quick.
Oh, yeah.
The bathroom.
Yeah.
Two things that absolutely gave me the damn creeps.
Uh-oh.
Black toilet.
That
was like an 80s thing that I was
thing.
always like, I don't know. For some reason, it doesn't mean that things don't show up on it. It's like a black car. Like it shows dirt much easier. And then carpet throughout. So you have this splish splash. I was taking a bath, jacuzzi tub right in the middle of the bathroom, and then carpet, and then the toilet. It's like, look, I know carpet's luxurious. It feels good on your feet, but that shit's going to get wet every single day. That's disgusting. Yeah. So that was it's funny looking at these old, like fancy residences. And there's certain things where like, whoa, that was like top of the line back then.
It's a terrible idea. But everybody needed it. It was the best height of luxury.
Right. So Billy Ray, he's like getting cleaned up. He's getting in his, in his clothes and everything, and they're kind of showing him around the place.
Yes,
and he still doesn't buy it.
No, he thinks it's either a setup or they're just going to say just kidding and whatever, or he's going to leave. Like he doesn't really get it yet.
Yeah. So a very funny scene where he's kind of trying to like get them to look in another direction, and he's stealing little like knickknacks from around the place. Look at those curtains over there. He's putting stuff in his pockets, and they're like, you don't understand. This is your stuff. You're only stealing from yourself.
Right.
And then he starts playing around with a vase. He's like, okay, well, if I just like play around and start doing Harlem Globetrotter shit.
Yeah.
And he breaks it, and then they say, well, that we paid $35,000 for that, but we had it insured for $50,000. You're already making us money
through insurance fraud.
Yeah,
of course, is the funny part. But yes,
but that's just business to these guys.
Exactly right. So he asks him, "You want me to break something else?" And all three of them, including Denholm Elliott, it's like, no. Like,
I like those random things in this movie where everyone's all on the same page.
Again, kind of cartoonish almost. Like, So now we're cutting to back to the Heritage Club. And Winthorpe is arriving. It seems like everybody in the club like gets together at some point during the day. And Beeks, Clarence Beeks, who we haven't met yet, but we've heard of, right? He is there, and he gets a signal from the Dukes about which man is Winthorpe. And he they go into this big meeting room, and Beeks kind of bumps into Winthorpe, and excuse me, but you can see he kind of grabs like near his jacket pocket. And what we find out is, okay, you know, the person says like whoever this headmaster guy, whatever this like head of the group is like, there's something rotten in the Heritage Club. There's been thievery for the first time in the 100 and whatever, and
super
this room
is
right?
insane.
It's an enormous room that has almost nothing in it. Like the amount of empty carpet, like between the dais and like the main table where apparently some classification of member can sit. And then along the wall are just chairs with no table is some other lower, I assuming, classification of member. And Winthorpe and his buddies, Todd and a few other guys I think we've met already. We skipped it, but like, looking good Todd, or looking good Lewis, feeling good Todd, that whole thing. They're all sitting at the big table, so they're like special, I guess. But Beeks is this guy. They introduce him as the head of Lyndhurst Security, whatever. And he says, we marked $50 bills with red X's, and we put them in a coat in the cloakroom. And just a minute ago, they were stolen. One of our operatives witnessed the theft. And he has them all like put a hand up on the shoulder of the guy next to you, and then reach into the other guy's pockets and empty his pockets out, something like that, right? And sure enough, in front of Winthorpe is this little, folded up like three $50 bills with red X's on the side. And he's like, I've never seen this before. I don't know what this is. This is a setup, like whatever, which is like, yeah, dude, like he would be shocked about it. Right. But like they literally take him away. And a couple security guards who I'm assuming work for Lyndhurst Security because they're white, so they don't work at the Heritage Club, take him away basically. And everybody's like, I can't, even Randolph says something like, I'm glad your parents are not alive to see this. Like it's fucking
crazy,
brutal, dude.
Over something that's like $150, But this is how much they crack down on petty criminals and everything. Right. One other thing about the room that they're in is the entire wall is filled with these portrait paintings of these like, white dudes, former members, whatever. But it's really funny because it's like that style of portrait painting where from a distance, they all look the fucking same. Like the color scheme, everything is very similar. So it just seemed like the most boring, like stuffy room possible.
Everything is monochromatic in every possible way.
For sure. A lot of Zorn palette up in there.
Yes.
So Winthorpe is taken away.
Yes.
And he's basically getting now at the police station. They're going through his stuff and he is indignant. He's Karening out, right? He's like, at one point he says to the cops, he's like, you are making a career decision. I love like threatening somebody to get fired like that. That's really... that's bold. Before
we get to him there, we do have Beeks again show up and whisper in the ear of a cop played by Frank Oz, the voice of Yoda. And so
and Kermit the Frog.
And Kermit, that's right. And he whispers to him. And so this is kind of informing what's about to happen. Clearly he's like bribing the cop to frame Winthorpe, right? So they initially tell Winthorpe, strip out of your clothes, like whatever. And he's like, I'm not going to do that. That's crazy. I can get 2 phone calls or whatever. And this big black cop gets up and goes, strip, you little shit, before I tear you a new asshole. And he just freaks out. This man is threatening me. I have witnesses. Like he doesn't get it. That like, this is not the position you're in. And so they go through his jacket and it's like, he's got like gold watch. He's got like, wallet with credit cards. And they list off every possible credit card at the time. 2 tickets to the Bohème. It's La Bohème. It's an opera.
It's an opera.
And then 1 cellophane bag. And he's like, it's got a white powder in it. I've never seen that before. He puts this is angel dust, PCP. You ever see what this stuff does to kids? And it's like, who would see? Like what? Like what? But they basically are framing him for being a PCP dealer.
Yeah.
And he gets held in jail then.
And that's a great scene, just seeing him crumble. Like as a guy who's never really had to deal with his own consequence in his life, there's always been someone to call to bail him out.
Right.
There's no more Winston Wolfes left. He has to deal with it.
So to be fair, we also don't have any indication that Winthorpe's ever done anything that would require a Winston Wolfe. Like, what I mean? Like it seems like he has been a Boy Scout.
True. He's probably been a rule follower.
He's
guy.
A dick and he's rude to people and he's entitled and smarmy and shitty, but we don't get any indication that he's done anything illegal his entire life potentially. Like,
and I do love Frank Oz. I mean, in the other John Landis, one of the great John Landis movies, The Blues Brothers, Frank Oz in a similar role. He's the guy checking Jake Blues out of the prison and giving the inventory of all of his stuff. So it's funny that he's like Yoda, Kermit the Frog, and the guy who like hands Jake Blues a used condom, you know, and who pulls angel dust out of Dan Aykroyd's jacket.
And then catches Chevy Chase cheating on a government exam in Spies Like Us. He's the administrator of this exam that they have to do. And he ends up seeing him cheating, and he presses a button under the desk, and all these cameras come down and start aiming at Chase. It's a great movie. We'll have to get to that one too. Anyway, nice. Frank Oz is fantastic.
So he's, you know, Winthorpe is screwed. And then I think this sequence is probably my favorite in the movie, where Billy Ray now he's out. It's like his first day of being a rich guy. He's like, fuck it. Well, whatever's going to happen. I have cash. I have a limo. I have nice clothes.
Let's do it.
I'm going out to the bar. And he goes to kind of like the same shitty bar that he would normally go to.
Absolutely right. He's not going to a club downtown with Richie's. He's going back to the bar in his neighborhood where he knows people, but he walks up to the bartender, and the bartender's like, you got a lot of nerve showing up after all this time. And he's got money for him. So he even says, you're lousy, measly money. Here you go, whatever. Champagne for everybody, like whatever. But who's there? In addition to all the women now flocking him, the two big guys from the holding cell the night before are there, and they come up and are kind of like in his face, you know.
You told us you had a limousine.
And I just love that he's like, hey, you're the motherfucker I saw in the tank last night. And he goes, motherfucker? Moi? And it's just, I love that. It's so good. But basically, like, you were bragging on your limousine. It's like, oh, that happens to be my limousine outside. And sure enough, there's Coleman. The guys go check, and there's Coleman, like, you know, tipping his hat, just kind of waiting or whatever. Very funny scene. And he decides, hey, let's bring everybody back to my place to have a party.
I got a limo. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
And then it's just, you know, kind of a wild, like John Hughes house party style party. You know, everyone's dancing around, and it seems like a great time. I think there's probably some professionals in the crowd.
It seems like,
that, you know, maybe there's some pimps and some of their prostitutes around there, but they're all, you know, laughing it up and having fun. Coleman is cruising around with a tray of hors d'oeuvres, and you get these, like, he doesn't say anything, but you get a little sense of Coleman. Like, you don't become a butler from being like an aristocratic, like, British dude, right? So he's some kind of working class.
100%.
Like, these are way more his people. He's probably like, this party actually seems fun.
Right.
All of Winthorpe's parties suck shit. You know, it was the Zeta Chi singing guy, like all those assholes.
Todd and the guys.
Yeah. So you get like some little cues from Coleman that I really enjoyed during this sequence.
Yeah. Denholm Elliott's performance in this has got a lot of nuance and a lot of, like, you know, so it's fantastic. There's some great lines in it. You know, who's been putting out the coolers on my floor? You know, he's like, whatever. And finally, you know, Coleman says, oh, I think somebody retired upstairs, went upstairs or whatever. And he goes up and there's a topless woman in his bed. Been waiting for you, Billy Ray. But it's like, he's done with it. He's like, everybody get out. You know, he tries to get all their attention, right? He's like, can I get your attention?
Well,
can I
get
your attention?
There's a girl right before that. So he goes up and he sees the topless woman in the bedroom. And there's, during that scene, the woman who's like flat, like pulling her top off and dancing and like doing this extended dance sequence. Really good. I mean, hey, great early 80s style action.
I wrote so much casual toplessness, pure 80s. Like, this really is pure 80s. But finally, Billy Ray has to tell everybody to get the fuck out. Like, get out of my house. And there's another kind of sweet moment then between Coleman and Valentine where, you know, Valentine, you know, Coleman says, oh, your friends seem to really enjoy the party. He goes, those were my friends, man. Those are freeloaders. You know, they did treated my house like a zoo. And Coleman's like, you know, why don't you retire upstairs? Like, I'll take care of this. And Valentine says, yeah, it's a good idea. I think I will retire. Thank you, Coleman. And there's a reaction from Coleman when he gets a thank you.
Like, nobody has
ever thanked him.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, watching this movie, you just know that the truth is nobody has ever acknowledged Coleman as anything other than like, here's your $5 Christmas bonus level, right?
Yeah.
So, very, very good. I'm glad you brought that up. So now we're back to Winthorpe.
Yes,
okay, and
back in the jail.
Winthorpe is being bailed out of jail. So his name is called there. And he's got a black guy. He's wearing different clothes. He's wearing like these, you know, ratty looking clothes. And Penelope in the waiting room she's so really good. That whole scene is super funny. So Penelope, the proper Penelope, is among Gen Pop,
right?
Which probably never happens to her. So she's sitting on a bench. She has one guy like picking his toes next to her, and then this lady kind of like falling asleep on the other side. with no room anywhere.
No.
And then the like most like fire plug, like thickest dude I've ever seen shoves the sleeping lady aside and sits right down next to her. This kind of like big barrel chested Polish looking dude. And he just looks at her. He's like, "Is that your purse?"
It's a nice purse.
That's a nice purse.
Before that, I love it though. The guy is picking his toes or whatever. She's got like Banaka in her purse, and she sprays him with the Banaka, which is so classic. It's like I remember having Banaka like in high school in the 90s. Like I thought it was cool because I would like have Banaka. I don't know why. Like it was a thing a little while that people would use Banaka as like a breath spray, but like I would never like you can't spray it on someone. It's just that little part of them that where the Banaka hits will smell better, but it's not like it's not Febreze.
No,
right?
At best you could use Banaka as like a low level pepper spray.
Oh my God.
That's really funny. So he comes out and Winthorpe comes out. "Oh, Penelope, thank you so much. Oh, it's been terrible." And he goes to hug her and she's just like embarrassed by him.
Yeah, she's mortified.
She's like, he's like, "Do you understand where I've been?"
Those men tried to have sex with me. Oh God.
I love bean in like anytime anyone leans into a bean, that always gets me. So Penelope reluctantly is like, "I'm going to get you out of here. You've embarrassed me. This is ridiculous."
Yep.
And as they're walking out on the steps, the Jamie Lee Curtis character, who was just pulled aside by Clarence Beeks, who's, bribing and stirring the pot everywhere, runs up to Lewis and kisses him. It's like, "Oh, Louis, let me get a shot.
Let me get a hit.
I'm not a drug dealer. He's just finishing teling Penelope, I've never been a drug dealer." And then she comes up and is all over him. And Penelope storms off.
Right. And that ruins it. And from the first moment we see her, obviously Jamie Lee Curtis looks great in this movie. She's gorgeous. Basically, Winthorpe is like, "Why did you do that?" And she's like, "Oh, your friend told me to get you off. He said you'd find it was funny. Look at that guy over there." And of course, Beeks now has walked away. He's not there. So Winthorpe's totally, I don't understand. Basically, they agree, or she agrees to like pay for a cab for him to get him home for $20 or whatever. And then he said, "I'll give you 50 when I get there." Cause my butler, I've got cash in the house, like all this, whatever. Well, they get to his house and he knocks on the door cause his key's not working. He says, "Coleman, my key doesn't seem to work." And literally like, "There's no Coleman here. You have the wrong house." The coldest response possible.
Yeah.
Like, and then eventually, he bangs on the door again. "Coleman, let me have," or whatever. And it's like, "If you don't leave, I'll be forced to call the police," and like, and that's it. So he's just like, "Fuck, what do I do now?" And
it's kind of crazy that that Winthorpe, like, he's so ingrained in this world that he doesn't even fight this stuff too hard because he's just kind of like, "Oh, okay, I am a piece of shit, and this is what we do to people like that. Like this is what I would do to somebody in this situation." So he doesn't seem as much like, "What is happening? Something's got to be wrong." He's just like, "Damn it!" Right.
But then the sort of final nail in the coffin is struck when he tries to go to the bank to withdraw. He says $1,000 so he can give Ophelia what he owes her, and then have some cash to like do whatever he needs to do. And of course, the IRS has frozen your assets. There's an investigation going on, embezzlement, like all this. Duke and Duke are pressing charges. And I need to see your credit cards. And the bank manager takes his credit cards and like shreds them or whatever. So he's got nothing. He's got no credit. He's got no cash. He's got no anything. And he's finally gets thrown out by one of the security guards. And Ophelia's getting in the cab and is like, "I gotta go. Like, I can't deal with you." And he like basically begs her to help him. And, kind of for no good reason other than she is a good person. She agrees. She agrees to help him.
Yeah. She's way too nice.
Yeah,
I mean, throughout this whole thing, it's like, oh my God, she is. Yeah. Just wait. I mean, there has to be that character in the movie, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's got to be
somebody. The
somebody.
moral center of the movie is the prostitute.
Right. This is just yet another piece of the satire, right? Is that the sex worker, the sort of bottom of the barrel of society, is the kindest, gentlest, and frankly, most responsible with money person in the entire movie, really. Yeah. As we later find out. But yeah, so we cut, I think after Ophelia agrees to help Louis and they get in the cab together, we cut now back to Valentine. He's going to have his first day at work. Yeah, at Duke and Duke.
And they actually had spotted each other. As
that's
Ophelia
right.
and Lewis were in the cab driving away. Valentine was in the cab with Coleman. He's like, "Hey, I think that's the guy.
That's the dude that got me busted."
Yeah, that's the guy that busted me. And they're kind of pointing at each other driving away. Yeah. Now we have Valentine's first day of work.
Right. And he asks Coleman, he's like, "What do they want from me? What do I do?" And he's like, "Just be yourself, sir. No matter what happens, they can't take that from you." And like Valentine gives him a look like, "What are you talking about?" So it's an interesting, Coleman is also trying to be, he's doing what he has to do because his employers are demanding it of him, but he's trying to be the Jiminy Cricket of the story and try to lead people in reasonable ways for the most part. But so basically Valentine gets there and you'll notice when people are saying hello to him, hello, Mr. Valentine, good morning. He's saying, good morning, hello. And like looking at people.
He's like engaging.
Making eye contact,
yeah.
right? It's very interesting. He gets up to the sort of this main office. It's not Winthrop's office. It must be the Duke's brothers, their office, because they have, I noticed, autographed black and white photos of Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon.
Yep.
Because of course they do.
In almost every scene that it shows them, like the photos change position so that they're prominent.
Yes, 100%. But they've got laid out a bunch of like plates of, like I think it's like an orange and like a piece of bacon and like coffee and like gold, like whatever they're telling like what commodities are. And I love when Randolph gets to the bacon, the pork bellies, which make bacon, which you might find in a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. At which point Eddie Murphy like breaks the fourth wall, looking at us, the audience, like, the fuck does this guy think? I know what fucking BLT is. Like, you know what I mean?
Such a great decision, because
like,
you can't do that really more than once in a movie to have it have that kind of effect, and it's so funny there.
Yes.
So they're kind of explaining, and they say, well, the best part of it is no matter what happens, if it goes up or goes down, we make money.
Yep.
And Eddie Murphy's like, oh, you're a couple of bookies then, just like,
I told you, Mortimer,
bingo.
you'd understand. Like, they know that's what they are. And then I think now we're back to Ophelia and Louis have arrived at Ophelia's apartment, basically, which is in a bad part of town. She says hi to a couple of like homeless guys on the street because she knows them. They're her neighbors, even though they seem to live on the street based on standing by a burning trash can fire. I assume those are homeless folks. He's like, do you know those people? She's like, yeah, dude, like this is the neighborhood, like welcome, kind of thing. And, he tries to argue about like or complain about all this stuff. And she's like, look, I don't care about any of that. Like you claim that this is real. I'm going to believe you because I'm going to help you get back on your feet and you're going to pay me 5 figures in cash, not negotiable. That's the deal. And he's like, okay, yeah, sure. And she mentions like, she's got like 40 grand saved up, she's got 3 more years on her back and she should be able to retire. And he's like, you're a prostitute. And it's like, bro.
It was really funny too, because it says a lot about the Winthrop character. She gives him in that sequence so much information, and the only thing he reacts to is you're a prostitute.
Bingo. That's all that matters in his world, in his view of people. This is, of course, also the first time we get a shot of Jamie Lee Curtis's body, which is fantastic. But she tells him, hey, in this place, rent and food are not the only things that cost money. You'll sleep on the couch. Because I think he's
like, cool, I'll take the image of your titties that I just saw and take it to the couch. I'm good for weeks.
Yeah. But they make their deal. He agrees, and that they're kind of set, right? That's what they're going to do. She's going to help him, and he's going to pay her, and they'll make it all good. And he's lucky as hell, basically, that he ran into this. Like Clarence Beeks could not have done him a bigger favor than introducing Ophelia to the picture and getting Penelope out of the way.
Seriously.
That's like absolutely the best possible thing that could happen to Lewis at this point.
He could have paid a dude to walk up to him outside the jail and be like, hey, man, you owe me money from those drugs. You
That's right. Could have done all kinds of stuff that would have been worse.
So I think now we're back with Valentine and the Dukes briefly, and Valentine's kind of leaving this meeting, and he notices a money clip on the floor.
Well, real quick though, we got to talk about the meeting because they're talking about the price of pork bellies again. And it's like it's going to go down, whatever. And he says something just about like, I don't think that's a good idea. Valentine does, and they're like, why shouldn't we sell now? He's like, well, because it's going to keep going lower. Why do you think that's coming? And he's basically like, all the guys with the pork belly, contracts, they're starting to get nervous. It's near Christmas. I'm not going to have enough money to buy my kid the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip, and my wife's not going to make love to me because I ain't got no cash. I love how he corrects. There's a couple times he corrects
really
his
good.
language.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And sure enough, the price keeps dropping, although they do say something about like, well done. And they call in like, oh, Valentine has set the price or whatever. But it's like, you don't actually see it get as low as he says it will. So it's kind of like, well, it's not done yet, but nothing makes sense about how long markets are open or like when trading's happening.
They're
Movies,
just
you have to let it
randomly
go.
open.
Yeah. But you're right. As Mortimer and Randolph leave, Mortimer, it turns out, drops a money clip on the floor and Valentine sees it. And he knows
again,
right away what the
part
deal
of
is.
the part of the whole plan, and Mortimer keeps trying to slide these little challenges into it and stuff. And Valentine, he's like, no, like I got a good thing going. I'm not taking this. He goes down to return it. I love when he hands it back I think he hands it back to Randolph first. And then he gives it to Mortimer, and it kind of like bats up in the air and like flips up, and he catches it.
Yeah, Randolph tosses it to Mortimer, and I wrote down like, how many takes do you think that took Don Amici? Or
was it random, or was it intended?
I'm wondering if it was like Ralph Bellamy tosses it to Don Amici, who was supposed to just catch it sort of meekly maybe,
right?
But it bounces, and it just happened to work out that way. And was that the first take? It would be so fun to find. I'm sure there's like a behind the scenes or a director's commentary or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Was it like the mask toss by Dr. Dan in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch?
That was a fishing line and a reverse camera trick. So I don't think it was that. But
Okay, these guys now.
Oh,
So
the Zeta Chi idiots.
So Lewis, he's got to find somebody to help him.
Right.
Well, my friends are all at the club, so I can
Yeah.
go there. And he's got. This is what I wrote down. Is his friends? They're all sitting there in these like tennis cardigans and stuff.
Because it's like a racket. This isn't the Heritage Club. It's like a racket
it's like
club
a
or something.
racquetball,
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that. And they're serenading the women
Yeah.
in this, very irritating way. And they're very smugly singing here. They're like a barbershop quartet of sexual assault.
Yeah.
Like they're just disgusting looks on their faces because everything that they're singing about, like the song that they're singing, is basically about how each of the women there lost her virginity.
Right, exactly.
And
or how often they were willing to get with them. Yeah.
Which is like, oh, geez.
These guys are basically
these guys are not unlikable enough already.
These guys were like the characters in Animal House that weren't the like main fraternity. Like these are like not the military, the Kevin Bacon guys, but like these are like the dickhead frat boys, like from that era.
Exactly.
They're very like 60s frat boys, it feels like. And then I love before Lewis comes in, after they do their singing and like whatever, Lewis comes in, but before he actually reaches them, one of the girls is like telling a story, and all we hear from her say is, and she stepped on the ball. And they all laugh. And for some reason, that's always been one of the funniest lines to me in the movie.
Because that's another good like dig at just like, I'm not going to show you a whole story of how boring these fucks are. This is their punchline. This is what pieces of shit they are. Yeah, really good. And of course, they don't want to help him.
No,
and
God,
now
no.
Penelope's already attached with like the most irritating of the barbershop quartet guys.
Yes, the tenor, who was always the most irritating of the barbershop quartet.
And he's telling Winthrop, he's like, frankly, it shows extremely bad taste of you to even show up here
And embarrass us.
Yeah,
That's what you show up here and embarrass us like this.
Right.
Like,
So everything is
asshole.
an assault on their image.
Of course. Yeah.
So his next resort is he's at a pawn shop talking to the great Bo Diddley.
Bo knows.
and he's describing his watch, and the guy's like, this is stolen. I'll give you $50 for it.
So hot is burning my fingers, man.
Yeah.
But I love that he points out that it tells time in like, Tokyo, London, whatever, and Gstaad, which is like not even the largest city in Switzerland, but maybe that's where the watch was made. I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting choice.
It sounds very
but, like,
funny. I think they probably workshopped like it doesn't burn doesn't sound as good.
Right,
Like try these different city names. The way he said that, it was like, all right, we got to build a joke around Aykroyd saying this.
Exactly. It really was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So the pawn shop guy basically says like, I'll give you $50. Like here, he's like, okay, fine, give me the $50. And then very funny, right as he's about to be handed the money, he's like, ooh, how much for that gun?
Bo Diddley's look, like response to that is so good. Eyes wide, like, huh? Like, oh my God. So now, oh, this is great too. So now we cut to, it's raining outside and we're having dinner, and it's the Dukes and it's Valentine. And then it's a handful of other people, most of whom we haven't seen yet, but I think we'll see again later in the movie. And one of them is this guy they refer to as Judge. I don't know what, but he's a judge, but he has the most ridiculous facial hair ever. It's like
crazy.
a beard that only goes to the neck and chin, and then a mustache.
Yeah.
Very weird looking thing. But he's telling a joke. Honestly, one of the better jokes in the movie that are like just told as jokes.
Yeah.
Where he's talking about like, the snail goes to the car salesman, wants to get a big S painted on his car. I want a big S on every door, and on top a big S. Why would you want that? Well, you see, when I drive my car down the avenue, I want everyone to look and say, look at that S car go. And they all laugh. And it's actually like a pretty decent joke
That's a good
if you
joke.
know the French word escargot and like what,
Totally.
and it's snail and everything. So it's pretty funny, but they all bust up. And then it's like, this is like, I don't know how much time has passed is an issue, right? I do think Louis' black eye is healed. So it's not like the next day, right? But like the judge asks him, Valentine, I'm thinking going long on April wheat. What do you think? This would be like a wheat contract due in April, right? And he goes, here's through. And then everybody in the restaurant stops to listen because now Valentine's, there's a few reasons why I don't think you should do that, Judge. And then everybody goes back to things. So it's like, but I'm like, why would anybody give a crap what this guy thinks? How much time? We know how much time has passed because it's like, it's still not to Christmas yet.
But if the Dukes are behind someone, they might be like, the Dukes are always on to some shit. So if they're even making this guy public, they've known about him for months, and he's already made them a bunch of money.
You're telling me the Duke brothers have a black man running their firm. He must be a super genius, because they're such racists. They would never allow that for just a run-of-the-mill smart guy. This must be like, a literal oracle who can see the future kind of thing, because they're such racist assholes.
So during this whole dinner scene, And I love the music. Again, I don't know what the name of the piece is, but it's the same as in the French restaurant in the Blues Brothers that's playing. So while this fancy dinner is happening in the restaurant, Winthorpe is outside in the pouring rain, a la Rick Moranis in Ghostbusters, kind of like standing out there just watching the dinner happen, getting poured on in his like fur pimp coat and all this stuff. I will say a coat like that today is going to run you $950. So
because it was real fur. You know that was real.
Looks,
100%.
Yeah. So Winthorpe is sick now because he's been out in the rain all night plotting his revenge through a restaurant window. And you know what? A real fancy restaurant, people can't look at you from the street. You go by the French Laundry. Good luck getting a peep into that place.
The windows are up high and they're like small. They're they're enough to let light in, not so much, visage to the outside world.
So he's sick now. And Ophelia, once again, outside of her contract, she is like taking such good care of him. She's being super nice to him. She's, okay, you rest up. You take care of yourself. You're no good to me if you're whatever. And
she's protecting her investment, she says. Right?
That's what she says. But
it's more than that.
It really is.
Especially when she then has her John show up for his date and she tells him, oh, my mama just came into town. Can we do it next week? Because it's like she doesn't want to kick Lewis out of the bed. And even she comes back and he's getting up. He's like, you've got work to do. This is business. I'll leave, like whatever. And she says like, no, you're crazy. And she takes her clothes off and gets into bed with him. Like, and she's just sort of like petting his head. I don't think it's anything overtly sexual at this point, but like clearly she's got feelings. She's catching feelings for him. Clearly.
Sure. And maybe that's all part of the plan to bill him later. If you're at a restaurant, they're like, say it to a kid. Do you want a refill on that mocktail? Yeah, I do. And they charge you $13.50 for it. Okay, so Winthorpe, he sees a newspaper. Like one of the things she hands him, the newspaper, and there's an article about Valentine says something about, the
new
Duke.
Manager of Duke and Duke, whatever. Yeah.
And then it says something about Christmas because he goes, Christmas, huh? I'll give him a Christmas he'll never forget.
It's very
Christmas present he'll never forget.
Very Snidely Whiplash, very really, like cartoonish villain,
dude.
Like
tying a woman to a train track style for sure.
Oh my God. So then we cut to Duke and Duke, to the Christmas party in the office. It's sort of that, it's not the bottom floor. It's that main floor after the elevator where you get on and then there's the offices and stuff where everybody said good morning and all that.
Yep.
And they're having this big Christmas party and there's big spread laid out and Winthorpe is there. We see him right away. It's not super clear to everyone around him who he is, but we realize who he is. And he's wearing the dirtiest, just gnarliest Santa suit. It's so gross. I don't know where it came from, but it looks like he found it in a dumpster down an alley somewhere, right? And that's what he's wearing. And so we cut real quickly to Valentine is in his office, finishing up work, looking through payroll again. So it must be a couple weeks later, right? Another paycheck is due to everybody. And he sees, instead of $50,000 to Clarence Beeks, $10,000 to Clarence Beeks, and goes to ask Randolph and Mortimer about it. And, of course, Mortimer has to make a crack about, we did run this place successfully for 40 whatever years before you came, Valentine or whatever. He's like, okay, sorry. So Valentine leaves his office, at which point, Lewis, who had been just taking stuff off of the buffet table, just large amounts of food, shoving it in the pockets and shoving the entire smoked salmon down the shirt of his, Santa suit, sneaks into Valentine's office, his old office, and starts loading up his center drawer of his desk with pills and joints and all this kind of stuff.
It's like the whole board that the DARE officer brings to the school all in one thing, and he dumps it down there. One thing I will ask you, how quickly would you quit a job if they had the office Christmas party at the office on Christmas Eve and you had to go?
Yeah.
That is terrible.
That would
I know
be
it's
bad.
like a movie thing. It's just like the bachelor party is always the night before the wedding because it makes for a better movie. But I hate this shit.
I've never had a Christmas party on Christmas Eve at any company I've ever worked at. I've never had a Christmas party at the office at any company I've worked at. One time I got a Christmas party. It was pretty awesome. I worked for a sports website and our Christmas party was in the Giants clubhouse at Oracle Park. It was AT&T Park at the time, right after they won, I think the 2012 maybe or 2010 World Series. And so we got to hang out with the World Series trophy and in the whole thing and go take I got to BP in their batting cages. That was a cool Christmas party.
That's a Christmas party. Dude, that beats sitting at your own desk on Christmas Eve while your family's at home. I didn't see any plus
that
ones
was just
at this
employees. Party. And as if the Dukes are Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
If Ebenezer Scrooge allowed for a Christmas party, it would absolutely only be for Bob Cratchit. Tiny Tim can go to hell.
Yeah. Valentine walks in on him doing this.
Yes.
And he's like, we got to deal with this man. I'm going to call security. And he's like, hello, security. And then Winthorpe pulls out a gun and points it at him. He goes, Merry Christmas. And then hangs up. Once again, one of like the 5 lines in this movie where it's like, Eddie Murphy's the only guy who can capture it that efficiently and get a laugh on like just such a normal line.
There's so few people. I'm trying to think of anybody else I think that pulls off that kind of switch between one mentality to another when it is forced upon them by another actor. Like it's that reaction to the other actor, and that it's just very interesting. And there's not a lot of actors that do that, especially in comedies. And Eddie Murphy's fantastic. Before they get to that part where Winthorpe's actually pulled the gun, though, the Dukes kind of let slip a little bit about the wager. Not enough to give anything away, but enough to get Valentine's attention, where they say something about, or maybe it's after, but they say something about, there was another party had to turn to crime or whatever. I would think it was when Valentine was telling them about the payroll thing. It's like, oh, look, Valentine's working still. It's like, oh, the wager's not done yet. Another party had to turn to crime, like that kind of thing. So Valentine's now suspicious of them. But basically after he pulls the gun, Winthorpe is like, just wants to get out, but he's sort of like waving the gun at everybody. He doesn't shoot anybody, whatever, but he's threatening everyone. And I think we talked a lot last week a few weeks ago in Raising Arizona about man screaming. And this is some fantastic man screaming from Dan Aykroyd as he just starts yelling, as he's running through the thing, jumps up on a desk and like waves the gun and everybody drops, and he's just kind of like, yeah, I'm a big man. And he hops down, grabs a bottle of liquor and heads out the door. Well, out into the stairwell of the building, because they're on like the 60th floor, I guess, because he ends up walking downstairs. And by the time he gets to the bottom, he is absolutely blotto shithouse
He's like
drunk.
The most, I know. And he started off like pretty drunk already. So Valentine is talking to the Dukes after this, and as Valentine's kind of like get these drugs out of my desk, he puts a J in his pocket.
Yes. Classic.
But he's telling the Dukes, he's like, you got to go hard on this. Like, you can't go easy on people like this. Trust me, I know.
Yeah.
And he sneaks into the bathroom to smoke it. And while he's doing that, the Dukes come in, and they, he jumps up on the toilet seat, mainly to not get caught smoking weed in the bathroom.
Yeah, right.
And then he ends up listening in on their conversation.
Right. And they basically settle the bet. Like Valentine is a hardworking, upstanding member of society and making them money, right? Which is the most important thing to them that Winthorpe did. Now Winthorpe has turned to trying to frame someone, carrying drugs around. He's got a gun. He's waving it at people. He's broken several laws right in front of their face. That's crime. So they're like, yeah, we're done. Like basically Mortimer owes Randolph $1. That's what the whole bet was for. They ruined 2 lives for a single $1. Because again, it's not about that part's not about money to these guys. It's just about being right or wrong.
Right.
The actual wager part.
And especially if everything they own is kind of 50-50.
Yeah.
If you have the extra $1, then it's like, even if it's not exactly, but symbolically, it's like, I'm one up on you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. That $1 is mine.
Right.
Yeah. And of course they then talk about, well, how do we get everything back? And Randolph's like, well, what do we do to get, I think we should wait to get Winthorpe back until after the crop report comes out, which is what Beeks is helping them with. And Mortimer's like, I don't want Winthorpe back after what he did. And then Randolph's like, you think you want to, so you're saying we should keep Valentine? And this is when Don Amici hits the hard R word. Do you think I want one of those running our family firm? Neither would I. So, they're basically making it clear that they're going to return Valentine to the ghetto. They do still say something about, waiting to switch them back, but it doesn't sound like they're going to help Winthorpe. They're going to just, that's it. It's done. And they're going to,
everyone's just replaceable.
Exactly. So basically now we see Winthorpe is heading down the stairs, like I said, from the office. He's drunk. He's like drinking this bottle. Valentine, who has now heard all this, is leaving, trying to find Winthorpe. He wants to talk to him, right? Well, he gets down on the elevator and sees Winthorpe coming down the stairs at the other end of the lobby, and he's blotto. He goes, hey, Winthorpe, and I love Aykroyd's reaction. He just goes,
that grunt
even
is
a word
really
or
so good.
anything.
Oh my God.
He heads out into the street. Valentine follows him, mistakenly sees another guy dressed as Santa and tries to get his attention. Not him. Rips his mustache off. That poor guy with the spirit gum tape. That's going to hurt.
And there's an interesting shot because like right as he turns around the guy that he rips the beard off. And then as that guy turns back around, it shows another Santa who's standing at the same angle, but it's Winthorpe, and he gets on the bus. And Winthorpe on the bus now, he's basically the Polish guy at the booking station, like moving people over, and he has this like big rack of smoked salmon.
Smoked salmon, yeah.
And he's just chomping on it through his beard with like gross, dirty beard hairs. I know it's not human hair, but
eating the smoked
So
salmon
gross, dude.
through the dirty Santa beard is one of the grossest things I've ever seen in cinema history. And I have seen the movie Human Centipede. And this is still like right up there.
This is Human Centipede.
Oh God, it's just gross. Like, I'm not a germaphobe in general, but this grosses me out so far. Every time he pulls that salmon up through his beard and has to like pull the hair of the beard away from the meat of the fish. It's so nasty.
It's
It's
so effective. So effective.
Yes,
though.
this
Just
is
to show,
you want to see rock bottom? Like, that is rock bottom, right? Like, that is abundantly clear to us how far down he's fallen.
And we see him eat a bit earlier when they're having their proper lobster dinner when he's with Penelope and stuff. So like how far he's fallen here. Yeah, really, really funny.
Yeah.
So let's see. And now Lewis steps off the bus, basically pulls the gun out of his pocket, puts it to his head, pulls the trigger, doesn't fire.
Right.
And then he gets this look like, I'm such a loser, I can't even kill myself. Throws the gun off screen, and then you hear like it just shoots off the second it hits the ground, which is just a really great gag.
And before he goes to shoot himself, or try to, right, a dog pees on his foot, and then the rain starts pouring again. So it's just like every possible thing is happening, and he can't even end it, right, or whatever. And so he goes upstairs because he's at Ophelia's apartment, basically. He goes upstairs. Valentine got in a cab to follow the bus, so he follows him home. Winthrop goes upstairs and like goes into the bathroom, and Jamie Lee Curtis doesn't actually see him. Ophelia doesn't see him when he comes in.
Right.
She's putting tinsel on the tree or whatever. And then Valentine shows up and is like, "Excuse me, the door was open. I'm looking for Mr. Winthrop. Is he here?"
By the way, best approach to like an open door. I was like, hey, he's learned a lot,
exactly. And she is kind of like, give me a minute. And then she's like knocking the door, like, Louis, it's him. It's Valentine. Oh my God, Louis, whatever. No response. So then Valentine busts the door down, and then they see Winthrop is in the bathtub. He's climbed in there, and he's a bunch of pills have dropped, but he's taken obviously a ton of whatever it was.
Yep.
We don't even know what, Quaaludes or something that he's got. So we cut back to, I guess, Valentine's house now. It's not Winthrop's house now. Valentine's house and Coleman and the bed. And there's a doctor there who I recognize from the Money Pit. I don't know if you ever saw that, but he plays Curly, the foreman of the construction company in the Money Pit. I love this guy. He's a great actor. But he's there and he's like, it was close, but he'll be okay. Just no excitement.
Yeah.
Like, and he really stressed that.
Right.
No excitement.
No excitement. And I think the way Ophelia so cheerily says Merry Christmas to the doctor when he leaves is another just small bit that tells you so much about the character.
She is like the Ophelia character is like the sweetest. Like, first of all, she's gorgeous, but she's like kind of like simple in her needs. Like, if you're nice to her and she can be nice to you, it's like that's all she needs in life.
Yeah,
it's just being kind.
Yeah,
and everybody's be kind to each other. And there's just something about that is like so pure and like nice. And then in the rest of the world that Winthrop's in, everybody is so not that, right? Where kindness doesn't even matter, right? Like, it's not even a part of the equation, let alone the whole thing.
Brown nosing is the closest you get to that,
yes,
right? Subservience is the closest you get to that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so basically Winthrop, his eyes open and he's looking around there. He's like, oh my God, I had the most terrible dream. Like, I'm glad I'm in my bed. Coleman, I'm glad you're here. Oh, there's this most horrible. And then he basically sees Eddie Murphy.
Right.
He sees Valentine and just blasts up and starts choking him out, which is really funny, where he's choking him and Valentine saying, "It was the Dukes, it was the Dukes."
And Ophelia and Coleman pull, Louis off because obviously Coleman knows the whole story. And so now that it's open, he's like, "Yes, sir. Like, I'm so sorry, but this is true. Like, whatever." And Ophelia's like, "I believe them. Like, whatever." And he says it was a bet, man. Like, Valentine says they bet on him if they could switch us and it would work out. And it was like, "Oh, how much did they wager? Like, how much?" For $1. $1. Like, the way he says that is like so great. So now we cut to him. He's all like gotten out of bed. He's dressed, whatever. In fact, he's wearing a vest and like a belt full of shotgun shells and cleaning his shotgun. He's got the ramrod and everything. And Valentine's like, "Man, you can't just go shoot somebody's kneecaps off because you don't like him." And he goes, "Why not?" And they suggest, "Hey, I think the best way to hurt rich people is make them poor." And Coleman says, "You didn't like him much yourself, And that's when Clarence Beeks shows up on the news on TV.
Right.
And Ophelia is the first one to notice it and goes like, "Louis, that's the guy that paid me to kiss you. Like, that's the guy." And then they hear on the news thing, it's like, Lyndhurst Security, Clarence Beeks is like, for whatever reason, they mention his name, and both Valentine and Winthrop are like, "Clarence Beeks," and it's like, it's all coming together. They're realizing it. and they realize what's happening. He's got the crop report. The Dukes are going to try to corner the frozen concentrated orange juice market. And Ophelia goes like, well, not if we stop them. And then Denholm Elliott Coleman goes, "Or beat them to it." And he's holding a platter of, and goes,
Yeah.
Eggnog. Like he's still serving the eggnog.
He's so good. And again, like as someone watching this movie, it's so satisfying now that Ophelia and Coleman and Valentine and Lewis are like all together in this.
The Fantastic Four. Like it really is. This group is so much fun. It's all the best people in the movie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Lewis being forced to learn how to be a good person in a lot of ways, but like Lewis now, this Lewis, the post sort of Ophelia Lewis, really has become a better person, and they're much easier to root for, and it's a great group to kind of like, oh yeah, let's go take down Beeks and the Dukes.
Yeah.
Because they're awful. Like Beeks like shoves people to the ground and is on the phone and is just like, hey, fuck off. Like he's just an absolute
There's like extra stuff that they have him do
to make sure he's awful. Like,
yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So now Beeks is taking this train now, and it looks like it's from Baltimore to Philly. There's a sign on there about the group that's holding this New Year's Eve costume party on a train from Baltimore to Philly.
Yeah.
And
because Beeks had to be in DC to get the crop report from the Department of Agriculture, and so now he has to head to Philly to give it to the Dukes, basically.
So I love the Jim Belushi role in this. It's so funny. I only love it if he's doing it to make fun of that type of guy rather than to show how cool that type of guy is. Because with Jim Belushi, I'm not sure where he actually falls on that spectrum. But
because with his brother, it would have been clear that it was satirization. But
Jim Belushi he's in this ape costume, and he's being extremely creepy with this woman at the bar who is like kind of enjoying his bullshit a little. Like she's amused by him.
I think she knows
or whatever.
Him, it seems like.
Yeah, and he's just kind of like, oh, come on. Yeah, you ever make it with an ape? Just being a dork. But a New Year's Eve train ride costume party is so much better than a Christmas Eve office Christmas party, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
and I mean, I've never done a New Year's Eve costume party. Like I had to remind myself watching this isn't Halloween.
Yeah.
It really looks like Halloween.
That's a great idea, though.
They're like elaborate costumes. But yeah, the idea of like a train party where, if the idea is like the train ride's maybe an hour long or less, right? And you're going to get to wherever you're going. Like it seems like maybe if they're heading from Baltimore to Philadelphia, I don't know if the idea is they eventually go to New York, or is Philadelphia a hot spot of, it's not Times Square, right? We know that's like a central location for New Year's Eve. Or is it more just meant to be like, are you on the train at midnight? I don't fully understand.
Yeah.
But it does seem like a fun thing to do for sure.
Good time. No one's driving. Always
right,
makes
exactly.
it good.
Yeah, that's always good. Yeah.
So Beeks now is in this car on the train, which has a couple, benches facing each other, so it can seat like 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
And he gets in there with his briefcase, and then we're starting to be joined by our crew here.
Beef jerky time.
So, buddy, what is Valentine's fake character name? He comes in basically as like an African exchange.
This is an exchange from Cameroon. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Great team to play on that NES soccer game, by the way. Hell of a team.
The World Cup team in like 86 or whatever from Cameroon was actually really good. Like surprisingly, or 84, whatever it was. Yeah.
So his character is really funny, right? So he has the dashiki on and stuff, and then he has this silly like little fan that he's flipping around, or like a fly swatting thing he's flipping around.
Yep.
And then who comes in next?
Coleman, and he's dressed as like he's got more of an Irish accent he's put on himself. He's dressed like a priest. He's got a little flask of whiskey, and it's like, may I interest either of you in a jolt of Irish whiskey, whatever. Right. And I love that Eddie Murphy like offers him, he's like, want some beef jerky? And he goes, oh no, son, thank you. It gives me the wind, something terrible.
Yeah. I love those lines to each other. Something else that Eddie Murphy says something to Beeks, and he's like, Merry New Year.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, that's Happy New Year. He's like, thank you for correcting my English, which stinks.
It's so good.
So then we have Ophelia come in, and she's like, dressed in a lederhosen looking thing, but she's saying that she's Swedish.
Yeah.
And
Coleman's like, but you're wearing lederhosen. Like, you're from Austria, right? And she's like, no, I'm like, whatever her name is. But
Inga from
Sweden. And it's like, it's the only voice she could do, maybe. The character doesn't have a lot of accents she knew how to do. But yeah, so she asks Beeks to help her with her rucksack, like her backpack, whatever. And when he goes to put it up, Eddie Murphy's able to like switch his briefcase with the one that Beeks has,
Right.
and kind of hide it under the dashiki. So now he's got the real briefcase with the real crop report in it. He excuses himself from the car, goes down to the bathroom, knocks on the door a few times, and like obviously Lewis is inside. He knocks back, and it's like, man, open the door! Like they didn't figure out the plan. Hands him the briefcase. And then he hands it back, or no. Then he goes back to the room. Then the next thing that happens is we have Dan Aykroyd show up. Now he's in blackface and playing a Jamaican person who knows Eddie Murphy's character, this Cameroonian exchange student, because they met at some conference, right? Is what they say.
Right.
I want to ask your opinion.
Yeah.
Is this Dan Aykroyd in blackface, or is this Louis Winthorpe in blackface?
I bet Dan Aykroyd would say it was Louis Winthorpe.
I think that's accurate because Dan Aykroyd is not playing a black character.
Actually, you know, it's an idea that Louis Winthorpe would have if he had to put a costume on.
100%.
Right?
Absolutely.
But I will say he does a good patois.
Yes, he does.
You know, he's no Chet Hanks, but you know, he's okay. I love the name of his character, Lionel Joseph.
Lionel Joseph.
What is such a fun name to say. But yeah, I mean, you know, blackface it's not holding up well, but it is definitely something that Louis Winthorpe would decide to do.
And Beeks would clock Winthorpe immediately, no matter what he's dressed as. He would recognize him immediately without something kind of covering his face. Now, it's a costume party.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't know that before they were coming, but he could have worn a costume potentially.
That is true.
But I do think this is not, I mean, in my opinion, and look, I am a white man, so my opinion is just a minor part of it. I'm not final in any way, but it feels more like this is not Aykroyd wearing blackface because the character he's playing is a white man, but that character is in blackface for another purpose. That's the way I take it. Don't know if that's accepted.
I'm glad we brought this up because I forgot that I had screen capped a bit of an interview from Dan Aykroyd about this exact thing here. Okay, this is what he said first because he's kind of like distancing himself basically like I wouldn't have done this.
Yeah.
He says, Eddie and I were improvising there. Eddie's a black man and his entourage were all black people, and I don't think they batted an eye. There was no objection then. Nobody said anything. It was just a good comic beat that was truthful to the story, which like, I get that, but he's also a comedian and he's going to have a different standard for the kind of shit that he wants to see. But this is the thing that fucking killed me. The actor continued, in these days we're living in, all that's out the window. I'd be hard pressed to do an English accent and get away with it.
Oh my God.
They'd say, oh, you're not English. You can't do it. Dan
Bullshit.
Missing the point.
Yeah,
Aykroyd.
Jesus,
like,
dude.
No. Like you're doing well, what's next? You can marry your cat? Like, shut the fuck up.
Why is there no White History Month?
Let's talk about the thing that we're talking about. So I will say, I don't think you should do blackface.
Agreed.
I think there's a different reason why you shouldn't do blackface than why you should be able to do an English accent.
Yes.
So poor Dan Aykroyd wasn't in Downton Abbey because he was afraid of being canceled by the woke mob.
Right. Yes. Remember earlier we were talking about punching up? Yeah, that's the opposite of that, apparently.
He's a 70-year-old guy that has a company that makes vodka that comes inside little skull bottles. And he does like alien shows on the History Channel. He's not my...
Did you see the John Candy documentary?
I didn't watch that.
You got to watch it.
Okay.
Aykroyd is wearing the most ridiculous, like blue silk vest.
Oh,
in it.
hell
it's ridiculous.
yeah.
He's sitting in a hunting lodge. It's the most ridiculous looking thing.
He seems like one of the celebs. I've enjoyed his work. I don't know if I would want to be stuck next to him on a plane.
I agree. Yeah. I would absolutely rather sit next to Eddie Murphy, 100% sure. Anyway, so Aykroyd comes in and he's like smoking a cigar or whatever, and Ophelia says, hey, we're all together, which is like silly. Like she doesn't know these other people supposedly, but like, let's have a picnic. You help me with my rucksack again, you know? So Beeks gets back up to grab the backpack, but this time when Aykroyd and Murphy try to switch the briefcases again or whatever, or he tries to switch with Beeks, Beeks notices. And so he recognizes it. And he rips the wig and the hat off like, oh, I got you, you know, Winthorpe or whatever, you know, and I love it. It's like the two baggage handlers who we've seen a couple times at this point delivering a gorilla onto the train, which really is an important part. One of them is Al Franken. Yeah. They come in kind of accidentally or whatever, like, oh, hey, sorry, I didn't know this was full. And Beeks has got the gun and he's like, I'll rip out your eyes and piss on your brain or something. It's like, God damn, dude. Like,
it's
wild.
So, and they take off, right? And and Beeks now has them there. And he's like, okay, the party's over. As the Jim Belushi in the ape costume comes in, he's like, the party's over? What are you talking about? The party's over. It's not even 10 o'clock. So saved by the doofiness of like one of those like party dudes. So he distracts him enough, and they end up subduing Beaks.
Right.
They put him.
The gorilla
in the
hits him in the head or whatever, because
the gorilla
he
bops
hits
him.
Jim Belushi's character, who's wearing the ape costume, in front of the real gorilla. He like hits him. The gorilla gets mad and hits Beaks and knocks him out. Real quick though, why would Beaks be comfortable leaving his real briefcase in the car? Right, and taking these 4 or 5 people or 4 people to shoot them, right? Yeah. But it's like I don't think he would have left his briefcase. But either way, he's now knocked out. They wrap duct tape around his mouth and basically put him in Jim Belushi's costume and somehow get him into the cage. Which, let's not ask how that happened. When we see, so then Jim Belushi comes back at the party. Yeah, go for it.
So Jim Belushi comes back to the party and he's just in like an undershirt and like boxers, and he looks around. And he goes, "Hey, look what happened to me," and everyone just starts cheering and like there's no like, "Hey dude, I got pretty violently robbed
like
of my possessions." So anyway, love the Jim Belushi effect in this one.
It's definitely funny stuff. But anyway, so now the baggage handlers have come back into the back and found Beaks. They don't know his Beaks is inside this costume, which like this gorilla costume does not look anything like a gorilla. So it's amazing that everybody treats it.
To be fair, neither does the real gorilla.
Well, that's true. It's also a bad costume. But basically, I've always wondered in this scene. Literally, like this is not something that just came to me this time. It's every time. I understand that Beaks' mouth is taped. Why doesn't he just pull the mask off?
Yeah,
it's like a hood helmet type pull over your face. Why doesn't he just pull that off? Anyway, after Beaks is forcibly penetrated by the other gorilla, we cut away from the train to the towers of the World Trade Center.
That's right. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
They're going to the World Trade Center to really get... I love these trading floor scenes from the 80s. It's always so fascinating to me. I still don't fully understand how any order is kept. I know you have pre-numbered shit, whatever, but... It seems just so chaotic, and I know it's meant to,
right?
And it's meant to scare people away from,
There's even a moment like during this sort of sequence where you see, I think when they end up looking at the TVs for the actual crop report, which we'll get to in a minute, you can see the pad Aykroyd is holding, and it's just scribbles. Yeah, like it's literally just pencil scribbles all over. Like that's what he's been doing, in the scene kind of thing. But yeah, we should back up a little bit. So the Dukes arrive at the exchange, and they tell their trader, buy frozen concentrated orange juice. It doesn't matter how high the price goes. Buy. And he's like, well, sirs, like the crop report will come out in an hour. What if you let us worry about that? Just buy, right? And he gets it. He's like, oh, they've got info. Okay. So they do that. Then Valentine and Winthorpe have taken money from Coleman and Ophelia, basically their life savings, to like, sort of fund this effort they're going to do, which like the way it works out, I think the margin call, they end up, as long as they had margin available, I don't think they actually need any cash because they end up so far ahead on margin, but that's okay. Regardless, they end up going there as well. And Winthorpe's trying to tell Valentine like, hey man, this is kill or be killed, take no prisoners in the pits, nothing, we got to kill him. We're going to kill him. Like he stops himself from swearing again.
When the traders are getting ready, there's a good scene of the guys kind of stressing out in front of the mirror right before the trading opens and doing the classic combo, like the whiskey and the Pepto, like our buddy in Cape Fear.
That's right. Yes. Like Joe Don Baker. But yeah, so yeah, they're talking. But Winthorpe and Valentine are super cool and collected. Valentine's got his like Afro pick. He's like getting his hair right. And Winthorpe's combing his hair and they're just chill. Some bell rings, obviously not to start trading, but some kind of indicator you need to get out to the floor. They slowly head on out there. And so, of course, their idea is, if I can explain it as succinctly as possible, their idea is to wait until the price goes high and then sell orders to other people who want to buy.
Right.
So now they will then be selling at a high price. Then when the crop report comes out, and which they know it's going to come out and say there's going to be plenty of orange crop, it's not going to be a scarce commodity this year, the price will start going down. And then when it reaches the bottom, then they will start taking buy orders. So they're kind of doing it backwards, but the idea is they are buying low and selling high, and making a profit, right? And
you just have to settle by the end of the
day. The key
is
the actual in the day, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's like, oh, how many orders do you have here and how many orders do you have here, which are, puts and calls or whatever the hell the deal is.
Yeah.
And it all, comes out in the wash and they'll be way up, the way this works. Meanwhile, the Dukes have told their guy to buy no matter what. And so he is buying at every single price point and continuing to buy even at the high prices when Winthorpe and Valentine are taking sell orders.
Yep.
And that's sort of the gist of it. It's like, it really boils down to the Dukes are buying high and selling low, and Winthorpe and Valentine are buying low and selling high. And that's how their money essentially changes hands.
Yep.
That's basically it.
Yeah, and you know, it's a good scene of the Duke's like private trader guy who's just losing his mind as the price starts dropping after this crop report comes out, right? Yep. And he's like fainting, and you know, and they're just like shoving him back, his limp body, like get back in there and
get back in there and sell. Although, well, you wouldn't want him to sell at that point. It's not like it's lower and lower prices, but like I don't know.
So you know, at the end of the day, basically, we see that they're out. You know, they made all these deals on margin. Like they didn't make it with cash they had on hand. So $390 million.
And I mean, $390 million in 1983 dollars
for like a day of action, right?
It's like over $1 billion today.
Yeah. And I think it was this judge guy, the guy who looks like a cross between Leroy Neiman and Sebastian Gorka.
Nice,
and
Gorka. Holy shit, he does.
He's Gorkish.
He really is Gorkish.
So he's basically like revokes their seat. On
well, you have to sell it basically. Apparently, it has value, so it's like we got to liquidate their assets, personal assets, the assets of the firm. Like everything's gone. It's basically Duke and Duke Commodities Brokers is out of business. The Duke brothers themselves are going to have no personal assets, no seat on the exchange. It's all done. They're ruined. And now I don't think that means that Valentine and Winthrop made $394 million, but they made probably hundreds of millions. Like, it's 9 figures for sure. Which like split 4 ways even is crazy. Wonderful. So
so they get to tell them, you know, like, they're Valentine and Winthrop see the Dukes and they're like, oh, we do have a bet to settle, don't we? And then they exchange the $1 between the two of them, which is really funny.
I also love when they come for the margin call, Randolph looks like he has like a heart attack, like he clutches his chest and falls, and the judge goes, Mortimer, your brother, and Mortimer goes, fuck him, put those machines back on. And then we cut to kind of the final scene. It's the beach. Some beautiful tropical beach somewhere. There's a boat just off the shore, and on the boat are Louis and Ophelia, and on the shore is Valentine with a beautiful girl next to him, and Coleman with a beautiful girl on his arm. And I love that, you know, this like first of all, there's the replay of the, you know, looking good Louis, feeling good Todd is, you know, looking good Louis, feeling good Billy Ray, or whichever way it goes. And then Billy Ray, you know, goes, hey, Coleman, what should we do about lunch? Lobster, the cracked crab. And Coleman asks his girl, you know, what should we have? And she goes, why can't we have both? And both. And he like calls over to like, you know, the servant boy or whatever. And I love this guy's response is extra primo good, Mr. Coleman, sir. Lobster and cracked crab for everyone.
I love that Coleman got to order from the, you know, it's like all these ends are tied up in this movie.
Yeah. He is dressed a little bit like Ricardo Montalban in, what was it? What was that show called? Not Forbidden Island. Is
Fantasy Island.
Fantasy Island.
Yeah. Oh man.
So that's it.
So that is Trading Places. Yeah, and it just ends. I mean, great movie. And I guess, do you want me to do my rating first?
Yeah, man, go for it. This is your pick. Here. Give us your take.
I'm so glad I picked this one. I mean, this is just, it's so enduring. I don't see what I would take out or change in this movie. I mean, I really don't see a lot of fat. It looks great. It's acted well. And like a little additional credit for it for being like a Christmas movie that you can bust out in lieu of, you know, certain shit that you're sometimes forced to watch. So enjoyed it just as much on this go round. I love John Landis's movies, and this is a 5 out of 5 for me. This is just, it's so fun. If you haven't seen this, for sure see it. And you can watch it any time of the year.
Oh yeah.
It's very satisfying. It's, you know, there's certain dated stuff that you're not thrilled to see, but I mean, you know, it's 40 years old, and I don't think it's like in a mean-spirited way necessarily. Right. Like the way that this stuff shows up is in a satirical way, as opposed to like the actual point of view of the film. So 5 out of 5 for The Boys, Trading Places. I loved it. This was super fun, Steve. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm almost where you're at. I think I'm quite there. It really is a ton of fun. It's highly recommend. You can't not recommend this movie. It's a fantastic movie. I'd just, to be totally honest, I don't love seeing Aykroyd in blackface, even though I just a few minutes ago was trying to kind of explain how it's not really Aykroyd, it's Winthrop, you know, whatever, but it's not ideal. I do think the majority of the vast majority of the kind of offensive pieces that are in it are like in a movie like Blazing Saddles. They are there to deliberately poke fun at and to point out, you know, that this is reality for some people, or was at the time. And so there's that. Yeah, love this movie. It's a ton of fun. I think I'm like a 4.5 out of 5, not quite the 5 out of 5 for myself, but this Trading Places, it's so great. And that's a 9.5 out of 10 from us. Kind of almost can't get higher praise from the two dads, but
seriously,
yeah, there you go. And okay.
Well, that's our first installment of the Dadvent calendar.
Love it. Dadvent season.
And we got to open another door in this thing, Steve. That's going to be you, buddy. What do we got?
Yeah. Next week, we're going to crack open the next door in the Dadvent calendar, and we're going to see a movie that is actually a personal favorite of my wife and I as Christmas movies. And we showed it. I saw it originally probably in college, and then I showed it to her when we first started dating, like the first Christmas we were together. I'm like, have you seen this movie? She's like, no. And I'm like, oh, you got to watch it. Okay. She fell in love with it. We showed it like a year later to her parents. They hated it. They could not stand it. My folks think this movie's funny, but her parents and my in-laws just did not. It is a pure Christmas movie, a lot more of an obvious Christmas movie than Trading Places is. It takes place only on Christmas Eve. Basically, the entire movie takes place over the course of the day and evening of Christmas Eve. Set in the little town of Old Baybrook in Connecticut. And it stars Dennis Leary, Kevin Spacey, and the incomparable Judy Davis. We're going to see The Ref, which is one of my favorite Christmas movies of the 90s.
I have never seen it. I'm excited to check this one out for the first time.
Yes, it's not maybe not the best Christmas movie ever, but it's one of those that both has nostalgia for me, and I think has a few pieces of just absolute peak mid-90s like fashion and home decor and different things you can really pick on. So that'll be great.
Beautiful.
So yeah, next week we will watch The Ref. That about wraps it up. So if you like what you hear, and we hope you do, please consider heading over to Apple or Spotify and leaving us a 5-star review. It really helps new folks find the show. If you want to drop us a line, share your thoughts on an episode, tell us what we got wrong, or suggest a movie we should do next time, you can do so at the show at twodads1movie.com. That's the number 2 and the number 1. And by the way, twodads1movie.com, we also now have a website there. You can
check
go
it out.
there.
It's a really fun website.
It's got all kinds of connections between the films and the people that have been in the films and our ratings, and there's stats, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm going to keep adding to it. So you should go check it out. You can also follow us on Instagram at 2dads1movie. Once again, this has been Trading Places, another episode of 2 Dads 1 Movie. I'm Steve.
And I'm Nick.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, everyone.